So guys, I've got some news for you guys. This video is gonna go up. This video is gonna go up now. I've got a Golovkin, an Android video that's gonna be uploaded tomorrow around 3-4 o'clock. So stay tuned for that one. That's a long one as well. I'm also in that video. I'm gonna be talking about the DAZN UK commentary team that has been announced. So make sure you watch that video, because that's about 20 some plus minute video, me discussing about, you know, the Andrade and Golovkin situation, and also the new DAZN UK team, which has obviously been announced here in the UK. So some of you Americans, it might not relate to you as much, but still have a listen to it. But yeah, let's get into this video about the Pacquiao fight and Spence fight, where apparently Sean Gibbons has now come out and said that the Manny Pacquiao fight will definitely happen. So that's good news. Although, again, I don't know whether they're just saying it or they know for sure it's going to happen. Hopefully, listen, I do think a fight of this magnitude and Al Heyman behind it, I can't see it falling through. But, you know, with what's happened in boxing of late, you know, we can't be 100% sure, because we've seen what's happened in boxing with the Fury Joshua stuff. And with me now, I've just become very scared. You know, I'm afraid that these big fights aren't going to happen. And like I said, I've said it in the yesterday video that this is the biggest fight of the year. So for me, this fight has to go ahead. This fight has to happen. Because for me, this fight means there's a lot riding on this fight. You know, and I've explained it in the video yesterday. So the fact that Sean Gibbons has come out and said that this fight is, you know, 1000% going to happen, it fills you with confidence. But at the same time, there's still some doubt. There's still some doubt whether, you know, are we going to, you know, this fight going to fall through as well. But like I said yesterday, hopefully not, because there's a lot riding on this fight for boxing. And I'm going to do a video about Errol Spence, a separate video about Errol Spence's star appeal in boxing. And I'll probably touch on it a little bit now, that I think this fight, and I mentioned it in yesterday's video, this fight is very important for Errol Spence. Very important for Errol Spence. And don't get me wrong, it's important for Manny Pacquiao's legacy. And I don't want the Pacquiao fans to come and start jumping up, because there are a few that... I'm a massive Pacquiao fan, and I would love to see Pacquiao win the fight. But looking at boxing as a whole, if Manny was to... Because Errol is the massive favourite in this fight. If he was to win Errol Spence, there's a lot of good things that can come out of it for American boxing. Because American boxing have lacked a star. They've lacked that superstar. Errol Spence has the ingredients to fill that void. Errol Spence could be that next guy. And although Errol Spence is old, he's 30 years of age, but let's not forget, when Floyd was 30 years of age, he wasn't that big a star. Floyd became a huge star more to the back end of, like, we're talking 34, 35, 36, you know, 33, 32 on, like, he became a bigger star more in his late 30s. When I say late 30s, I mean more but you know, mid 30s. Was he that big a star in his late 20s or even early 30s? I'm not sure he was, to be honest with you. I'm not sure he was. Because let's not forget, when he fought Oscar De La Hoya, he was the B-side. I can't remember how old he was then, but he was the B-side. You know, so that just shows you that Floyd wasn't that big a star. So Errol Spence could also be somebody, because let's not forget, Errol Spence, his career is really now taken off, where he beat Danny, he beat Sean, he beat Mikey. You know, he went to Kell. Like, when did he go and win the title from Kell Brook? Was that 2017? I think it was 2017 when he fought Errol Spence. Sorry, when he fought Kell Brook, which was only 4 years ago. So he won the title 4 years ago. So it's not like he's been a champ. Like, it's not like he's been around, like, you know, a champion for a decade now. You know, he's only been champion for 4 years. And let's not forget, 1.5 of those years, was taken away from, or at least 1 year was taken away from the pandemic. So 3 years, really. So when you think about it, he beat Danny Garcia. If he beats Manny, you know, he's coming close to being that next superstar of American boxing. And that's why I think this fight is so important for him and for American boxing, because I think they've lacked that star in Spence. I'm not saying that he's going to become a Mike Tyson or a Floyd Mayweather, because that's going to be difficult to do, because Errol Spence doesn't have that kind of personality that they had. They had, you know, they could talk a lot more. You know, Mike Tyson was just, Mike Tyson just had a unique fighting style, which just adored him to all the boxing fans around the world, and not just that, casuals as well. Not just Mike Tyson. I always say this: Mike Tyson is the most recognized boxer after Ali. Honestly, he's the most recognized boxer after Ali for me. So, but that was not just because of the way Mike Tyson was, because of his fighting style as well. Mike Tyson had one of those fighting styles with that ferocious, and people loved this fighting style, and that's why they tuned in. Floyd Mayweather was more the fact that he was able, and it was more his own American audience. I don't think Floyd Mayweather is a global superstar like a Mike Tyson. I think Mike Tyson is known everywhere, because I know in Asia, Floyd Mayweather isn't that big. Mike Tyson is. I think Floyd is more bigger in like the Western, you know, the UK, and he's big there. But Mike Tyson's big here in America and over Asia. I think he's just he's definitely more recognized than Floyd. And I think Errol Spence, although he's not gonna, for me, reach, I'll be very surprised if he comes anywhere close to those kind of levels of fame. Especially with the fact that he's not a brash talker. He can be if he needs to be, but I don't think he's that guy. I don't think you know, neither is Terence Crawford. They're very respectful, down to earth, laid back kind of characters. But I definitely think that Errol Spence is growing his fan base, and the people are starting to take to him. His resume is starting to build up. He's starting to, you know, he's starting to become more confident as well. And I do think that, I'm not saying he's going to become a massive star, but I do think he's going to become a star to the point where he'll be putting 70, 80,000 people, you know, in that stadium on a regular basis. I do believe he can get to that level, Errol Spence, because I do think he's starting to build a massive following. And I think him beating Pacquiao will only help his reputation, help his appeal, help his name, help his brand. And I think slowly you'll see him start to do big things in the sport. The only problem is with Errol Spence is the fact that, okay, Manny Pacquiao, Terence Crawford, if he wins those fights and moves up, where are the dance partners? You know, you see the dance partners at 160, there's not really at 154. So that's the issue he's going to have, is to find opponents that are going to make for super fights. Now, he might be able to do it himself. He may be able to carry shows himself. But in order to make the mega fights, the super fights, you need to be fighting guys that are seen on your level. That like him fighting Canelo, for example, would be massive. But guys of that level, unfortunately, there's not many guys out there like that are going to be seen as a 50-50 fight, and they're superstars as well. Whereas Floyd had a lot of them. Floyd had Marquez, you know, Marquez at a country, but Cotto, Puerto Rico, you know, Manny Pacquiao, Oscar De La Hoya, you know, Shane Mosley, you know, all of these guys was Ricky Hatton, you know, he had a country behind him. All these guys were stars. You know, so Mayweather had the dance partners. He had the guys to fight. Unfortunately for Errol Spence, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that. He's not going to get the fighting Ennis or fighting, you know, these are young guys coming up. But do you see what I mean when people say, oh, Mayweather became so big? But yeah, but Mayweather had those dance partners. You know, he had guys that had countries behind them. You know, guys that were superstars in their own right, like your Pacquiaos, like your Miguel Cottos, Shane Mosley, Marquez's, you know, Ricky Hatton. You know, these are guys with a big following, with huge names. So Floyd Mayweather was, although he was the bigger star, Oscar De La Hoya was the A side, like I just pointed out when he fought Floyd. This is what I'm trying to say, that Floyd Mayweather had great fighters with big names. Unfortunately for Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, they haven't got that. They haven't got the depth in talent that Mayweather had, and they haven't got the same, anywhere close to the names that those guys had as well. And that's the issue for people like Errol Spence. Although Spence is growing, and this is why people say, why aren't there no American? Because there's not that kind of talent or pool that there was back in the day. Like I said, at welterweight, Mayweather had legends to fight, like Miguel Cotto, Shane Mosley, Juan Manuel Marquez. You know, these are all legends, man. These are guys that you can say, wow, what careers they had. This is what I'm trying to say. Unfortunately, there's not the same out there for Spence. But going off the topic, it's great that Errol Spence is, you know, hopefully this Pacquiao fight happens. But that's what I think, that's what's going to be his, even if he wins and his career goes on, is to find the opponents that are going to make huge fights, that are going to make huge pay-per-view fights, that are going to, you know, sell out huge stadiums. And even though he may become such a big star where he may be able to do it himself, but in terms of to get those big mega fights, sell those big mega pay-per-views, you need a dance part. Like Canelo needed Golovkin, Golovkin needed Canelo. You know, Sugar Ray Leonard needed Duran. You know, Anthony Joshua needs Tyson Fury. You know, Fury needs Wilder. You know, do you see what I mean? That I feel like Errol Spence may struggle with that, especially at 154, because there isn't anyone at 154 that you can say, you look at, that's a huge name. And this is the issue. This is why Errol Spence is probably going to be looking at something like Canelo, even though I don't think he should be fighting Canelo because Canelo's too big. But there'll come to a point where Errol Spence will be looking to make a mega fight. And that mega fight isn't going to be against anyone at 154. So it may have to be somebody at 160. And Eddie Reynoso has already said that they'll be looking to fight Errol Spence at a catchweight or 164 or something like that. But again, how can Errol Spence move all the way from 147 to 164? That has to happen gradually. And most importantly, can he even get to that? And 164 is massive, man. You know, and Errol Spence would be hugely undersized. You know, I know people say Errol walks around at 180 and stuff. This is for another video. This is for another video anyway. But yeah, hopefully Pacquiao and this Spence fight does not fall through. It does happen. So that's great news. That Sean Gibbons has said that this is gonna happen. But guys, we've got the good news. Let's hope this does happen and the fight does happen. But make sure to look out for my video tomorrow between Golovkin and Andrade and the new UK DAZN team. I've gone into quite a bit of depth there, so make sure to watch that video. But yeah, leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.